Hello and welcome to Hammer Time, a Hammer horror podcast, part of the Evolution of Horror Network. I'm Becky Darke, a film critic and Hammer newbie, and I'm joined by my co-host, human encyclopedia of film and TV and Hammer superfan, Kevin Lyons. Hi, Kev.
Hello. I get such an ego boost when you say things like that, you know. I'm not going to be able to get through the entire rest of this series without my head expanding and filling up my entire flat. It's going to be ridiculous.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I have altered my introduction slightly from Hammer expert to Hammer superfan.
Thank you.
Because you said to me something along the lines of, I never really like it when people call me an expert because it suggests that I know everything, and that takes the fun out of it because I don't want to know everything. I want to keep learning.
I want to get up every day and find out something new about this genre that we love.
Exactly.
And, you know, if I was an expert in anything, well, what's the point?
That'd be it, right?
Where's the fun?
You'd be bored.
Where's the fun?
In this podcast, Kev and I watch and discuss every horror film in Hammer's back catalogue. And this week, Nigel Neal and Val Guest are back with Hammer's first horror sequel, Quatermass 2, from 1957.
You're mad. I've seen them. Thousands of tiny creatures that can join together and expand into things 100 feet high.
I'm excited for this one, Kev.
Oh, yes. This is a good one.
After how good the Quatermass experiment was, and knowing that this is one of your faves, and you've told me that the Quatermasses get better with each film, I was really hyped to see Quatermass 2 for the first time. And we did a really fun double bill screening a couple of weeks ago at the Regent Street Cinema in London. And we showed the Quatermass experiment, and then we showed Quatermass 2. And that was the first time I had ever seen this film. So I got the absolute delight of seeing it for the first time in the most incredible way.
Yes.
Up on a big screen. It was remastered. It looked and sounded fantastic. We watched it with a crowd. It was the second film, so everybody was already quite kind of, you know, energized and kind of really up for it. And I have to say, I had the most brilliant time with this film. I thought it was great.
I thought it was quite noticeable that when Quatermass experiment finished, there was a polite round of applause. People obviously enjoyed it. There was a kind of an audible reaction at the end of Quatermass 2.
Yeah.
I detected this sort of collective wow.
Yes.
From the audience, because, as we will see as we go through this, it's actually a very, very, very different film. It's
very different. It feels much more sophisticated, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Do not get me wrong. Go back and listen to it again if you have any doubts. I love Quatermass Experiment.
As did I.
With a passion. As did you. You were absolutely... And you loved Rosie in particular, didn't you? But it's now my mission. I'm having sort of... I'm trying to get Doctor Who into every one of these. You've got to get Rosie into every one of these. If you don't know who Rosie is, go and listen to the Quatermass Experiment episode and you'll learn all about Rosie.
You'll understand why I love her so much.
Oh, absolutely. But... this is bigger, it's more political, it's more satirical, definitely more paranoid, and it's really, I think, it's really quite subversive. For its day, this is really quite daring, quite bold.
Yeah. Before we get into the deep discussion, let's have a look at the plot for Quatermass 2. I'm back to my old tricks, and I've just lifted this straight from Letterboxd. In England, a group of space scientists led by Bernard Quatermass, who have developed plans for the first moon colony, learn that a secret, ostensibly government-run complex of identical design has been built in a remote part of England and is the focus of periodic falls of small hollow meteorites, in air quotes, originating in outer space. Quatermass determines to investigate and uncovers a terrifying extraterrestrial life form which has already begun action to take over the Earth.
Who wouldn't?
Dun, dun, dun.
Who wouldn't want to see that? Seriously.
Honestly.
Wow. Terrific.
So good. So this is, as I've already said, this is obviously the sequel to the Quatermass Experiment. It is Hammer's first Hammer horror sequel. It comes, though, from It's not that they just had a success with the first film and they were like, right, we'll make another one.
Sure.
Very much like the Quatermass Experiment, this is again based on Nigel Neal's work, is that right?
Oh, definitely, yes. I mean, they had tried to do Quatermass without Neal, and he'd said no, and that became X the Unknown.
Yes.
This is, yes, it's based on the television serial Quatermass 2. Mm-hmm. On television, where, you know, only cultured people hung out on television back then, watching the BBC, it was Roman numerals, Quatermass II.
Ah.
When he came to the big screen, it was the plebs. They had to put Quatermass 2, the number. Hammer had scored this huge success with the Quatermass Experiment. Massive success. And when they found out that Neal was writing a second serial, they bought the rights to it just based on his scripts. They had the rights to make it before it went out on television.
So it goes TV, the Quatermass Experiment, the film.
Yeah.
Then Quatermass 2, the TV sequel.
Yeah, and then
Right.
Quatermass 2, the film. Yeah.
Okay.
And all following in rapid succession. In fact, the timeline gets very muddled here because Quatermass 2 went into production before The Curse of Frankenstein, which we covered last week. But it came out afterwards.
Okay.
So it all gets very confusing. The world of trying to figure out the timelines of films is...
Kevin, that's why I'm happy you're here, because I need you to figure this stuff out.
Just leave it to the nerds like me. Yeah, it honestly, it keep you awake at night. It really will. But they were so enamoured of the Quatermass idea that they thought, yeah, we're going to do the second one. And quite rightly so too. They knew that when they were onto a good thing. They'd seen how much money Experiment had made, so of course they were going to try and get the next one. And Nigel Neal wanted a bit more control this time, understandably so. And he actually wrote the first draft of the script for them. And you will see in very big letters in the credits, written by Nigel Neal. And then underneath, he's slightly smaller, Val Guest. And in fact, what had happened, Val Guest was the director of Experiment. They brought him back for this one, and he had to rewrite the script. In Guest's own words, it contained a lot of philosophising and very down-to-earth thinking, but it was too long.
Okay.
It would not have held screen-wise, so again I had to tailor it and sharpen it and hopefully not ruin it. And so what he had to do was bring it down from... so the 6 episodes of the TV series down to a very, very brisk 85 minutes.
Yeah.
So some of it is massively changed. We can talk about some of the bigger differences as we go along. One of the first and most obvious differences is, in the TV version, we meet his daughter, Quatermass's daughter, Paula. Completely missing from the screen version. And that does tie in with the final Quatermass story, just called Quatermass, from 1979, where he's trying to find his missing granddaughter.
Okay.
But yeah, he has a daughter in the TV version. There are multiple changes to the film.
I'm honestly, based on Brian Donlevy's Quatermass, I'm surprised he's even married, let alone anything else.
Oh, God, can you imagine being married to the Brian Donlevy Quatermass? It'd be like... You'd be deaf after a couple of days, wouldn't you? Just shouting orders. Where's my tea? Yeah, we'll have more to say about Brian Donlevy. So.
I do just as a quick teaser for our conversation about him. I do think he's better in this, Kev.
Oh, yeah, there's an improvement.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, fine.
It's not a huge improvement, but it's an improvement. Yes, definitely.
So, how does Quatermass 2 kind of work as a sequel? Is it? I think with sequels, you sometimes get one of two things. You get like more of the same, or you get something that is really trying to kind of do something different and take the story and the characters in a different direction. So if Quatermass 2 was to fall into one of those camps, which would it be? Or does it not fall into either of those camps?
No, it's definitely trying to do something different. And while you were talking, it hadn't occurred to me before, strange analogy, bear with me, it's a little bit like the Mad Max films.
Okay, I'm listening.
Where every one of the Mad Max films is completely different to the one that went before.
Yeah.
Mad Max 2 is nothing like Mad Max. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is nothing like either of them.
My personal favourite, thanks for asking.
Oh, there you go. You see, it's like, we all know that Mad Max 2 is the best, but let's not get into that conversation here. We'll do that. Save that for another day. But I think the Quatermass films do the same thing. The serials, they do very different things with the same basic setup. So Quatermass Experiment, much as I love it, it is a monster film. It's a monster on the loose film. And Quatermass 2 is something very different indeed.
Yeah.
Very different. Quatermass and the Pit, which is my favourite, we're going to get to that in about 34 or 35 weeks' time. My maths isn't great, but it's about 35. It can't come soon enough because that's different again and bigger, full of insane ideas. And even this sort of, the not as well regarded television series that finished it all, Quatermass in 1979, full of huge ideas which there are underpinning sort of tropes, as it were. There, the idea of possession, alien invasion by stealth.
Yep.
All that sort of thing is there.
Yep.
But Neil, being the genius that he was, manages to find whole new ways of telling that same story. So it doesn't feel like there's nothing in this film that feels like it's copying the first film.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Nothing at all. No,
agree.
it's not a lazy retread.
No.
Of the original, which is too often the case, as you say, with a lot of sequels. It's just it made us money. Let's do the same thing again. Nigel Neal was never going to do that. He was always going to try and do something different, something original, and bless him, Hammer kept most of that in the films.
Yeah. And so, speaking of money, did Hammer invest more heavily in this than they did in the first one? Did it have a bigger budget?
Yeah, they what they did, and this became a bit of a hallmark for what they would do with later films. They pre-sold the American distribution rights to United Artists before they'd even made it. So they had money coming in from United Artists, from Hollywood, before they started filming. And the most immediate thing, and it always makes me laugh every time I see it, the most immediate upgrade you get is that Quatermass actually has a proper experimental rocket group this time. In the Quatermass Experiment, it's him and his sidekick and a doctor.
Yeah.
And they don't even seem to have a permanent base.
No.
They're just hanging around in hospitals and things, There doesn't seem to be a proper headquarters.
It's a bit more scrappy, isn't it?
It's a bit more British in a strange sort of way. So it's not quite that they're working from the shed at the bottom of Quatermass's garden. It kind of feels that way.
Yes.
This one, they actually have got a fleet of secretaries and a headquarters and lots of people doing things, and like
people making scale models.
That's right. Yeah, it feels like a proper functioning experimental rocket group. So yes, there was more money, and there was more money to go out on location. And they really used that to terrific effect. They used the Shellhaven oil refinery in Stanford-le-Hope in Essex.
Right.
To stand in for... Basically, the Quatermass has designed a moon base, and he, to his horror, finds that it's been built without his permission in this place. It used to be a village called Winnerton Flats. It's been demolished. They're rebuilding it. And, fact fans, that was actually Hemel Hempstead while it was still under construction.
No way!
That's what Hemel Hempstead looked like in the early days. But the actual plans that he's found is a complete replica of his moon base. And that's where the mystery starts to come in. Who's done this? Why is it here? And it was done at the Shellhaven oil refinery, which is the same place that the BBC had used, incidentally, for the TV series.
Oh, okay.
So this one has the added advantages of some fantastic mass paintings by Les Bowie. The domes aren't actually there. They're matte paintings that are added on later. Sometimes you can tell, sometimes you can't.
I love a matte painting.
These are terrific.
So clever.
They are, yeah.
Stunning things.
I always love a making-of documentary from the old days where they actually show you, and they'll be showing you the people painting, and then they move the camera, and you think, oh my God, it's just a tiny little painting, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're always doing it with the tiniest brushes to make sure that they get that incredible detail that you actually won't see in any detail when the camera's pulled back, but it just adds to that realism of it, obviously.
But now, of course, in an age of high definition, the matte paintings day has come. All those details that they put in, we might be able to see them now.
Exactly.
So this is the work of Les Bowie, who did a lot of these things for Hammer. Absolutely brilliant visual effects man. His matte paintings are exemplary. Really, really good.
And obviously, the fact that it's been replicated without Quatermass's knowledge or permission, is made sort of doubly, or sort of a double insult and also a bit more nefarious because the government have just pulled all his funding. So they tell him that there's no need for a moon base, no need for his research to continue.
Yep.
But obviously what they've actually done is they've nicked it and built it down the road.
Well, the government, but not really.
Oh, okay.
Because they've been possessed.
Oh, of course.
The aliens are living in these domes.
Yeah.
The official word is that they're making artificial food.
I know, synthetic
to sort of
food.
solve world hunger. It's not. They've actually got these awful aliens who are quite tiny, but they bond together to make these giant sludge monsters who I think are probably on Earth looking for the one from X the Unknown, because they're very similar in style, I think.
I know, I think they'd be buddies.
Yeah, they're sort of like, X the Unknown was the one they left behind thousands of years ago and got buried or something. That's, the Quatermass verse, that's what we're working towards, isn't it? But, it's the aliens possess human bodies and sort of take them over to do their bidding, basically. And so what we've got, and this is really subversive, I think, this is at a time where we're about a decade or so after the end of the Second World War.
Yeah.
During which time everybody got behind Winston Churchill, whether we liked him or not. The country got behind him because he was, leading us to victory.
Yeah.
We weren't meant to question politicians. We're not a rebellious people, the British. We haven't really had a revolution. The Scots tried it a few times and it always ended in tragedy, but on the whole we're not a revolting people. What this story is asking us to accept is that politicians may not only not have our best interests at heart, they may not even be human anymore.
Yeah.
And that must have been very subversive at the time.
Yeah, that is so interesting. That's such a good point. I hadn't really thought of it in those sort of historical terms, but of course.
Well, the reason they've stopped his funding is they don't want him to build this moon base because they've nicked it.
Yeah.
The aliens are running the country, running the government. And that's very scary.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if that might be true.
Well, again, look at the news someday and tell me that aliens aren't running the world, because it's the only thing that makes sense some days.
There's something so central to Quatermass 2 about kind of government cover-ups. And this is it's sort of a trope or a theme that becomes very commonplace in sci-fi fiction.
Sure.
One of the bits that really made me sort of gave me a sense of recognition, I suppose, is when Quatermass and one of the other guys that he works with, Marsh, are approaching the base. And at that point, they actually don't know that that's what they're approaching. They're following these sort of scanner readings to find where these meteorites that have been falling down have gone. So they're off to try and kind of figure out where they're coming down and potentially figure out what they are. And as they're driving along, there are sort of signs that say, keep out, restricted area, that kind of thing. Roads that suddenly just kind of come to a stop.
Sure.
Armed guards sort of keeping an eye on things. And this all felt really X-Files to me. Like, this is the sort of thing that Mulder is always sort of going rogue, and he'll drive through some chain link fence that he's not supposed to, looking for stuff that he's not supposed to be looking for.
Well, interestingly, I think Chris Carter was a fan of Quatermass 2.
All right.
Because he asked Nigel Neal to write for the X-Files. And Nigel Neal, said he wasn't interested.
Nigel!
We were just used to Nigel by this point. But I can kind of see his point in a way, because maybe he felt he'd done it already.
I mean, fair enough.
An alien invasion by stealth.
Yeah.
Government interference in the hero's investigation. And both of them are going to feature a toxic black oil.
God, yeah, you're so right.
So, maybe he thought, I don't need to do the X-Files. I've already written this story.
I've already done it.
I don't need to do this again. But so I think Chris Carter would have seen Quatermass 2, and it would have seeped in. I'm not saying he ripped it off, but I think he would have seeped in there.
Exactly.
It would have sort of been at the back of his mind. I saw that great film when I was a kid, and it was just, really paranoid, and that's what I'm looking for in this new show. go. Yeah.
I mean, you also get Broadhead as almost the sort of whistleblower figure.
Yeah.
He's almost like Deep Throat in the X-Files, where you've got kind of, a man in power. Because I think Broadhead is part of the ministry, isn't he? I think
he is. Yeah.
And he doesn't like what's going on, and so he's kind of launching his own investigation and brings Quatermass along with him. And there's sort of echoes in that, this idea of kind of the man on the inside who is trying to kind of expose things that then happens with characters like Deep Throat in the X-Files as well. So
indeed. It's worth seeing Quatermass too, just for a rare glimpse of that rarest of all creatures, a politician with principles.
Yeah.
This is Vinny, he likes to call himself. He's trying to make himself man of the people. Vincent Broadhead, Vinny. Yeah, he's definitely had to expose the whole thing.
Yeah.
And pays a horrible price for it.
God, yes, we will come on to talk about
we
that.
Definitely will.
Talking of black goo. Also, just before we sort of move on from this, talking about like these sort of conspiracies and stuff, you've got the part of the press, right? So you've got Jimmy, played by the brilliant Sid James. So Jimmy Hall, and he is a sort of jobbing journalist, really, who is sniffing around for a story and almost sort of gets collared, really, by Quatermass.
Yes.
And sort of says, you're a journalist, come along with me. We need to expose this thing. And so Jimmy, again, quite like Broadhead, ends up getting more than he bargained for by trying to expose this conspiracy. But
not
it's interesting.
Everybody gets out of this alive, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's another thing that that this film is kind of upping is I think it probably has upped the body count quite significantly.
Oh my God, the body count is extraordinary in this film. It really is.
But yeah, so you've kind of got this this sort of like paranoid investigator, the man on the inside, and then the kind of the objective press figure.
Yeah.
And these just feel like kind of characters and tropes that feel very sci-fi to me, and it's being done here in 1957 by Nigel Neal. And
Nigel Neal doing it brilliantly, because those characters work so well.
Mm-hmm.
You genuinely feel a sadness when fates befall some of them.
Oh God, I know.
You are genuinely sad that they're gone from the story.
Yeah.
And even though it changes so much from the TV series, it keeps to all the main beats of the TV series. And so it keeps that paranoia alive all the way through the film.
So let's do it. Let's talk Brian Donlevy. Here he is, reprising his role as Bernard Quatermass. Now, if our listeners haven't listened to The Quatermass Experiment episode, stop now and go back so you can hear all of Kev's insightful thoughts about why Brian Donlevy isn't necessarily the best choice for this role.
She says insightful thoughts. It's more of a rant.
I know, but it was going to sound rude if I said that. So, I'm trying.
Oh, no, I'm the first to admit that I was having a rant about Brian Donlevy.
But I think we were in agreement that he's a little ham-fisted when it comes to playing this very kind of curious and intellectual scientist of Quatermass.
Brian Donlevy was a really good two-fisted action hero.
Right. Exactly.
He wasn't a cerebral scientist type.
Exactly. And I think that, he hasn't done such a kind of transformation of the performance and the character here that you sort of think like, blimey, the manager had a good chat with him in the changing room at halftime.
Sure.
But I do think it is a performance that is slightly subtler. I think he has more empathy for his fellow man.
He certainly did. There's a wonderful scene that actually shows real human compassion for the first time.
Yes.
When the missile pod thing explodes in Sheila's face, the barmaid.
That's right.
Who we'll talk about later. He looks away and winces. He genuinely feels something. Whereas before, he would have just like, oh, well, it's her fault. Shouldn't have been messing about and just stomped off somewhere.
That's so true.
But yeah, he feels a bit more compassionate this time around.
He does. And I think there is something about him sort of having a team as well.
Yeah.
Like a real team, as you were saying earlier, Kev. His relationship with Marsh as well is, when Marsh as well gets infected as well. Gets infected. And because Quatermass doesn't know what that is at the time, he says something like, there was something on your face, but then obviously it disappears and you kind of just get that mark.
That's right.
But it's actually Marsh being essentially kidnapped by the sort of security guards or whatever they are on the base. And especially then, he feels like, I don't know, like he's got this genuine concern, doesn't he?
He's worried about Marsh, whereas he spent most of the first film shouting at him.
Yeah.
And this one, he actually, maybe because he's got a bigger team this time, he's less stressed. I don't know. We can make up that.
Maybe he's just getting a bit more sleep, Kev.
But yes, maybe. But I do think he's better here. Not enough, perhaps, to completely redeem him.
Fine.
But he's a bit more conciliatory at times, I think.
Yeah, he is.
And certainly I think the brusque man of action bit is actually quite good here.
It feels more appropriate because he's playing more of a heroic character, or Quatermass takes more of a heroic role in this narrative.
Yes, it's more of an action story at times, and he does the action stuff really well, picking up the machine guns and leading the charge into battle. That's what Brian Donlevy did really well. Mm-hmm. And, you could question whether our Quatermass would actually do that or not, or whether he'd just call the army in. But for the sake of the film, I think I'm not sold on Brian Donlevy, but I don't want to bang my head on the wall every time he appears like I do in Quatermass Experiments. So it's a step up, step in the right direction.
Absolutely it is.
We were spared a third outing with him. They wanted to do Quatermass and the Pit very early on, 1963, and they'd got Donlevy under contract still. And they'd signed a deal with Columbia to make gothic horror films for release in America, and Columbia didn't want Quatermass. And so Quatermass and the Pit was put on hold, didn't get made till 68, I think it is, and Brian Donlevy was gone. So we got lucky, we only got two of them, but we could have had a third one.
When you say he was gone, Kev, you don't mean he was dead, do you?
Do you know, I don't know when Brian Donlevy died. He was gone from Hammer. He was gone. They let him out of his contract, or he'd have timed out or whatever. He'd gone back to Hollywood. I can't remember when he died. I should have looked that up. My apologies.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a mailbag episode.
It's absolutely fine. I was just double checking that you hadn't said.
Oh no! He just
Brian Donlevy was dead, and therefore we got off lucky.
Yeah, we're so lucky. Brian Donlevy's dead.
It's like, I know you don't like his performance as Quatermass, but let's take it easy, Kevin. Come on.
I don't dislike him that much. I like him as an actor, and I'm sure he was a lovely bloke. So apologies if that's what it came across as. I did not mean it like that. Oh, hang my head with shame.
So what about the rest of the cast? Because my first observation...
I know what your first observation's going to be.
Lomax has been...
You loved him, didn't you?
I did, I loved him. Lomax has been recast, so it is no longer Jack Warner.
No.
It's now John Longdon.
It is.
Who I think is fine, but he's not as nice and he's not as good.
Jack Warner was busy with theatrical commitments because he was a popular actor at the time, so he couldn't do it, unfortunately. But we're actually lucky that we've got Lomax at all.
Oh.
Because Lomax isn't in the television version.
Interesting, okay.
They brought him back because he was in the first film. And I like the fact that they tried to do, even with a different actor, and John Longdon is a very good actor.
He's great.
He does a fine job. He doesn't have the warmth of Jack Warner.
No.
We don't get any of the business about him desperately trying to get a shave and looking more and more dishevelled as the film goes on.
Or having to run out on his wife while she's got his dinner on the table.
Exactly. We don't get any glimpses like that. But what we do get is a glimpse of perhaps an ongoing relationship between him and Quatermass.
Yeah, I really like this.
Since the first film, they've hung out together. I like to imagine that they've hung out in the pub occasionally, spending an evening bickering with each other about what really happened in the Quatermass experiment. I like the fact that they sort of brought him back and they have this... Lomax is a little bit touchy when Quatermass starts pressing him, because he can't give too much away. He's being controlled by the aliens in a different way. He hasn't been possessed, but his boss is shown to be an alien.
Yeah.
So his hands are very much tied. He can't do everything for Quatermass, but you can see that he has so much respect for him that he's willing to break the rules a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But Lomax doesn't know that his boss is possessed, does he? Because we get that moment when he actually goes in and he sees
the mark on his hand.
The mark, on his hand.
That's
and
right.
at that point, he comes out and he's like, right, let's sort this out.
And that's the moment where he starts to rebel.
Yes.
That's when he starts to sort of say, OK, so maybe the authorities aren't quite the people we thought they were. And, my conscience will not allow me to carry on just, following the rules. I've got to side with Quatermass on this one.
I think that's such a great choice for the character of Lomax as well. Like, I'd have been... If they had decided to simplify matters and rather than it being Lomax's boss that was possessed and actually it was Lomax that was possessed, I wouldn't have liked that at all. So I'm very glad that they went the way they did.
It wouldn't have worked as well. I think we needed to have... Lomax, is a character who's kind of almost the everyman. We've got another everyman to talk about in a second, but he's kind of fulfilling that role of the down-to-earth copper who a little bit less down-to-earth than Jack Warner's perhaps, but... still a kind of an audience identification figure who can't quite figure out what's going on. He has to have it explained to him by Quatermass so that we understand.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And I think that works really well. I think, it's a shame it's not Jack Warner, but let's raise a glass to John Longdon. I think he does a fine job under the circumstances.
He really does. If we had to get rid of Jack Warner... Sob. Then John Longdon is an excellent second option.
Absolutely.
You're right, he does. He continues that really important role that Lomax plays in these films, in the narrative of kind of grounding things.
Indeed.
And I also really like that they've got this enduring relationship. And,
that's right.
Yeah, going down the pub or like... It almost reminds me of the priest and the copper at the end of The Exorcist, where they go and see films together. That sort of thing.
I had the same thought. I had exactly the same thought that these two people who are from very different walks of life brought together by something horrific.
Yeah,
and it bonds them.
I know.
And, it is. I'd love there to be like a little side story, maybe a short film just showing Quatermass and Lomax down the pub.
Yeah, me too. Or like a coda at the end of the credits.
Exactly. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Just like, we've deserved this pint, I think.
We've really earned this one.
Yeah, we've earned this one. So...
so Jimmy Hall, our sort of jobbing journalist, Kev, let's talk about Sid James.
Credited as Sidney James.
Sidney James here.
Pre-Carry On.
Yep.
I came to Quatermass too after I'd seen the Carry On film, so I was familiar with that public image of Sid. That guy.
Oh, that was good.
That's the one. That's not bad.
Good
I've been practicing that for years. It's not bad at all. It's the only impression I can do is Sid James. But I sort of grown up a little bit with that persona.
Yeah.
And then to see him in this, and to see him being gunned down in cold blood. Sorry if this is a spoiler, just have to get used to us spoiling these things, but my God, these callous, robotic security guards gun him down in cold blood, and then just to make sure, they shoot him again. And this is Sid James.
I know.
You can't do this to our lovely Sid, but he's terrific in this film.
He's great.
I'm going to relate him to your favourite person because he does a fantastic drunk performance, just like our beloved Rosie.
He does.
And when we make this short film, because we're going to do it now, of Lomax and Quatermass down the pub, in the background it'll be set between the two films. In the background, Jimmy Hall and Rosie are going to be having a pint on the table.
Oh my God!
Next to them. So how good would that be? But he's so good in this, and I think this more than anything else. I think this shows what a good actor Sid James was.
Without a doubt.
The early Carry On films, he shows this range of characters that he could play. Eventually, he becomes Sid the Lecher, and that's just what was required by the series at that point. But he was such a good actor, and he's brilliant in this. And you are heartbroken when they kill Jimmy.
It is awful because he has such a heroic moment where he essentially knows that these guys are advancing on him, but he's on the phone and he's kind of crouched down behind the bar, and he's on the phone to his editor, I assume, relaying this story, trying desperately to get all of this information across to expose this conspiracy and get the story out to the world. He knows his moments are numbered, and yet he doesn't hang up the phone to say okay and sort of put his hands up. He keeps on the phone to get as much information across as he possibly can, essentially knowing that he's about to get shot.
Again, a glimpse of a vanishing breed, an actual journalist with integrity. He's going to stay to the bitter end, no matter what, to get this story out, because it's so important. This isn't just the opening of some fate or something. This is the fate of the human race. And he knows that.
Nice.
It's not bad either. I made that up on the spot. Anybody would think I'd planned that.
That was very
I'm going to write that one down, actually. Use that again. That wasn't bad. But he knows that the human race is at stake here, and he's such a noble character that he's going to stay there, literally, like you say, to the bitter end.
Oh.
What a man. What a man.
Yeah,
what a character.
Heartbreaking.
You're
right.
It's tragic. And it makes it more heartbreaking that it's Sid James, because we've come to know Sid as something very different.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
So who else on the cast have we got who is kind of notable?
Well, we've got Vera Day, who plays the aforementioned Sheila.
She's amazing.
Who, again, is an invention for the film. She's not in the TV series.
Okay.
She's an invention for the film. She's the most vivacious female character in the first two Quatermass films. She's full of life and energy.
She's amazing.
And she's incredible, which makes the fact that she becomes infected all the more shocking.
Absolutely, because like you say, she's so... that's literally it, full of life. She's like showing these guys how to do a jig. You know, she's meant to be pouring pints, but she's too busy dancing.
Yeah, she's enjoying her life, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why Quatermass, I think, is so horrified when it happens to her of all people.
Yeah.
This epitome of life and energy and youthfulness. And, you know, we hope, because we don't really see what happens to her, but we hope that at the end of the film, when they destroy the aliens, the marks disappear and people are returned to their former selves. We hope that Sheila makes it, because Vera Day is so bloody good. And do you think, and is this just me thinking this because Sid James is in it, but there's a bit of Barbara Windsor about her?
There definitely is, and I don't know if that's because she later goes on to work behind the bar in the Queen Vic, or whether it's just because she's opposite Sid James. I don't know, but yes, there is definitely something of the Barbara Windsors.
She's
about
that
Vera
same
Day.
bubbly blonde, isn't she?
Absolutely.
A little bit flirtatious, but knows not to push it too far.
No, absolutely.
And
she's good at her job, you know.
Exactly. And the way she treats all the blokes, you know, they're all drunk all around her. And she's got them totally under control. Proper bar woman who just knows, okay, they're going to be idiots because they're blokes who are drunk, and I know how to deal with them.
Yeah, exactly. And you know the moment that one of them steps out of line, they're out. Yeah,
do not mess with Sheila.
That's right.
I think, and she's lovely. She's so good in it. And I just think, I'm glad they put her in the film. I'm glad they found that character and put her in the film.
Yeah, me too. Do we see Vera Day again at all?
What, in films?
Yeah, in Hammer films.
In general, yes, we do. I'm not sure in Hammer.
Okay.
I should have checked that, but she did a lot of films around this time, and playing very similar parts. But when you're that good at it, why not keep doing it?
Absolutely. Yeah, she's great. She's a real breath of fresh air in this.
She is. She's a sort of blonde bombshell without being the bombshell.
Right.
You know, she's not overtly sexual.
No.
She's just a very happy-go-lucky young woman.
And just very watchable.
Having the time of her life. Yeah. Very watchable. Very well. That dance sequence serves very little purpose narratively, but I'd be appalled if they took it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you could kind of say, it's a bit, a bit sort of frivolous or a bit unnecessary. But actually, again, as well as setting Sheila up as an individual character that then gives such pathos to the film when she is attacked by this thing, bursting out of the pod, it's also showing more of the community that are right in the sort of...
They're in the thick of it, aren't they? They're right in the middle of this
They're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like they've got this like steamroller kind of coming towards them, right? And they're just in the pub. You know, as we know, the English love a pub. We've already talked about this, through some of the other Hammer films that we've discussed. And, you know, they're hardworking people. They're all sort of working on this plant, and this is their downtime. And there is something actually really important about kind of showing the everyman and the everywoman that is going to be like affected by the horror that is literally on their doorstep.
Curious that you mentioned the pub, and we've mentioned the pub a few times in this episode.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. But in British science fiction, when the going gets tough, the tough tend to go down the pub.
Right.
It happens over and over again. You see films like The Earth Dies Screaming, Devil Girl from Mars, The Day the Earth Caught Fire, right all the way up to Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
And The World's End.
Wait for it all to blow over.
Wait for it all to blow over and then go on a pub crawl when there's robotic aliens in the next film. The pub is, because it's such a central facet of British life, more so I think in the 1950s than it is today, then yes, it becomes this site of like, you know, where are we going to go to convene to think about what's happening? So weird shit's happening and we just need something normal in our lives to centre ourselves in. So yeah, you know, that's what we get here. We get this it's not a pub, it's a community centre, but they've turned it into a pub, and it's a little moment of normality.
Yeah, exactly that.
Before it all goes horribly wrong.
So a couple of other, just before we move on from the cast, Kev, I've got a couple of other names written down, but from our previous conversations, they don't mean a whole lot to me. So I need you to tell me about Brian Forbes and William Franklin. Are these guys who are sort of doing anything particularly special here? Are these names that I should be familiar with?
Well, Brian Forbes, definitely. He'd played Marsh in the earlier film, if I remember right. But more importantly, he was going to go on to become quite an important figure in British cinema. He'd become a director, and eventually he'd become an executive at... oh, forgive me, my mind's gone blank. One of the big studios. And anyway, he started this very ambitious programme in the early 70s when British film was on its last legs of trying to make new, ambitious films.
Oh, amazing.
He was a very important player. He's well worth reading up on. And he did some amazing stuff later on. He's very good here as Marsh. We don't see a lot of him. We see him at the beginning, and then he comes back in full-on sinister mode.
I know.
Later on.
I don't like it, because he's been he's been one of us, hasn't he? He's one of the good guys.
He's been very affable early on,
yeah.
You know, and he kind of puts up with Quatermass being Quatermass, yeah, and then suddenly at the end, he's an alien object, you know, he's coming to get us. William Franklin, we remember him, those of a certain age, from adverts back in the day for Schweppes, which was a kind of a mixer drink.
Yeah, of course.
And the phrase, shh, you know who, which is what he always used to say, you know, when he was pouring it, he said, you know, soda by, shh, you know who. And he was Schweppes. And he was just this long-running series of adverts, and he was a lovely presence in almost everything. He did everything, sitcoms, movies, all sorts of things. He plays quite a tragic figure here, with a sidekick who kind of saves the day. When they discover that the aliens are based on an asteroid out near Jupiter, I believe, and they're going to launch the Quatermass 2, which is the rocket, the second rocket. And the guards break in and try and stop them, and they shoot William Franklin, but he manages to pull himself together enough to fall on the controls and launch the missile, which destroys the alien base and restores order after a fashion.
And am I right in thinking that it's not even that they just shoot him? Doesn't he save the other guy? Like, he literally, throws himself in the line of fire.
Yeah, a proper noble character. Quatermass might have been a bit of a git, but he knew how to choose his people. Yeah. You know, he's a proper noble...
Excellent recruiter.
Excellent recruiter of really fine human beings who, you know, you go back to the original film, Victor Carroon, we've spoke about what a human being he was before he became a monster, recruited by Quatermass. It's odd, isn't it, that this bluff, brash Quatermass seems to have surrounded himself with really quite decent people. Yeah. Willing to make sacrifices to save the rest of us.
Oh, God, bit of noble self-sacrifice. It really gets you.
It does, doesn't it? It does. It really does.
So we're aliens again, as we've intimated. In this film, they come to Earth in lots of little meteorites.
Yep.
And they're sort of little like alien rockets, I suppose, almost like seed pods. And they
That's right, yeah.
They kind of come down, and then when somebody touches them, they break open, and the little alien inside bursts out and sticks to their face, and then sort of gets absorbed, but then leaves this sort of mark on them.
Yes.
There is something very bomb-like about the meteorites that fall to Earth, both in their shape and in their number. You get these sort of views of them on the satellite sort of readouts.
Yeah.
And just sort of coming down like just an absolute sort of almost blitz of these little meteorites. And
that's the right word for it, because don't forget, when this TV series went out, when the film was made, we're only a decade away from the end of the war.
Well, exactly. And so it feels like, again, we're really sort of leaning into these themes around the bomb or bombings, the atomic threat. It's still very much kind of that type of sci-fi, isn't it?
Well, it still staggers me when I think about these things that my mum was born on the day that the Second World War broke out.
Oh, my God.
And my dad was a couple of years older, and they grew up in the Midlands, where there was constant bombing because they were trying to take out Coventry.
Oh, okay.
And, they were terrified. They were little children. And bless her, my nan used to tell my mum, they're just silly men fighting over you because you're so gorgeous.
Oh, God.
Isn't that lovely? Well done, Nan. Well done. That's brilliant. But this memory was still ingrained in these people that had gone through the Blitz and gone through all the... when we talk about the Blitz, we all think of the East End, the good old East Enders and all the rest of it. It was happening to other cities.
Yeah.
All the major cities were being bombed. And can you imagine what that must have been like? Even when the Blitz itself stopped, they were still sending raids over, and you never knew when it was coming.
No.
Never knew when it was coming. You can think about that and then have, some great sympathy for other people in war-torn countries and what they must be going through. And that's what this is partly tapping into. Do you remember how scary that was? Here it is again. Only this time, it's not going to explode and destroy your house. It's going to come and take your body from you.
Yes.
So it's kind of upping the ante a little bit. And I have to say, I've got to get this in, haven't I, that the opening scene with the soldiers watching the falling missiles on the screens is replicated almost shot for shot at the very start of Spearhead from Space, John Pertwee's first Doctor Who story.
Oh, wow.
It's almost exactly the same.
What year would that have been?
That was 1970.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a film, and Quatermass as a character and Nigel Neal as a writer has hung very heavily over British popular culture for a very, very long time, and still does. Still does. I can still, you still find people talking about a Nigel Neal style script. You still find that now. And of course, back then, he was very much the man of the hour. The first two Quatermass serials were huge hits. So, he was this guy. And if he said that, death was going to come from above and this time it was going to be aliens, you listened.
Oh, God.
You paid attention. Yeah.
It's scary.
It's terrifying. This is a really subtly scary film.
Yeah.
There are moments of real horror.
I was going to say, later it gets
we're going
very
to get
unsubtly scary.
Unsubtle horror. But it's the subtle horror that I like the most in this.
Yeah.
The idea that our government is working against us, this idea that, so that this is an unstoppable alien force raining down on our heads. It's like, wow, really creepy stuff.
It's that sort of insidious horror, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's a good word for it.
Not insidious like the films later where you've got sort of, astral projection and all of that kind of thing. But
they're not particularly subtle, to be honest. Not in the way that this is subtle. So, yeah.
So I didn't do this last week when we were talking about Curse of Frankenstein, because that felt like such a film with so much to talk about.
Sure.
And also it was also made in 1957. So I thought that I would keep all my 1957 facts back. And so we just had a lovely long talk about Curse of Frankenstein, and I've kept all my facts for our talk about Quatermass too. So
Very wise, very wise.
I thought so, thank you.
Yeah.
We have a little feature on each episode where we look at what was going on in the world, mainly the UK, at the time that the film was released. So here is this week's instalment of Hammer in History.
Hammer in History.
Kev, I'm going to want your thoughts on some of this.
Okay.
Politically, I like to always start off with who was in power, which seems especially pertinent to the film that we're talking about today. Anthony Eden has finally been booted out and succeeded by Harold Macmillan. So it's Harold Macmillan is our new PM. And elsewhere, the government unveils its plans that will allow, women to join the House of Lords for the first time.
Oh, hang on, I need to pick myself up off the floor. What's this about women? Good Lord.
I know.
You can't allow that.
Honestly, what would Victor Frankenstein say about this? Surely these things are far too complicated for a woman's simple brain.
What would Quatermass say about this?
Exactly.
He'd have told her to it's very nice in the House of Lords, put the kettle on.
Now, as we've just been suggesting, there is quite a lot still going on in nuclear news.
Yes.
As I have dubbed it. So there was something going on in 1957 called Operation Grapple. Have you heard of this, Kev?
I have, yes, indeed.
Okay. So this was the first successful test explosion of a British hydrogen bomb at Christmas Island in the Pacific. I mean, this just, again, absolutely terrifies me. I know that we still technically have nuclear capabilities in this country, but
there's no technically about them. They're out there. And there's large numbers of them. Yes.
Yeah. I don't like thinking about it.
No, I don't.
And a little closer to home, the graphite core of the nuclear reactor at Windscale in Cumbria caught fire, releasing substantial amounts of radioactive contamination into the surrounding area. Oh my God, I love this. An inquiry blamed the accident on a combination of human error, poor management and faulty instruments. And I'm like, so basically everything that could possibly go wrong.
Yeah. The only thing you didn't have was foreign spies trying to blow the thing up. Everything else, that's what happened. That's not an explanation, guys. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
It really isn't.
Just, it went wrong. It's like, you don't say.
Yeah, it went wrong. Oh, we're not quite sure why.
No. So here's 3 reasons. You take your pick of which one you like the best, the sound of best.
Indeed.
Elsewhere in science and tech, Norwich City Council became the first British local authority to install a computer.
Oh, my good God. Oh, my. And it would have been the size of a room.
It would have been the size of a room. Apparently, it was an Elliott 405.
Right.
And I like the idea that there are probably still people working at Norwich City Council who are still, digitising the files way back from the year.
There will be young people who are now sort of retirement age who probably just remember the computer coming in.
Now, we were talking about smoking earlier, and it's becoming a hot topic. So in 1957, a report by the Medical Research Council revealed that there actually was evidence to support a link between tobacco smoking and lung cancer.
Right, yes, it took a while.
Imagine there being a time that people didn't know that, though. That just...
Oh, it's staggering when you think about the illnesses that we've defeated over the years. And there was a time when people didn't even know they were ill.
Right.
They just died.
Oh.
And there were things we could have done to stop it.
Yeah.
And it's like, progress is slow, I'm afraid. Progress is very slow.
Well, especially when there are profits involved.
Well, of course, exactly. You old cynic, you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now, talking of, not necessarily old cynic, but, the doom and gloom in us, I believe that on our producer Mike's podcast, The Evolution of Horror, that you were responsible for predicting...
Oh, please don't. Please don't. Yes, no.
The COVID-19 pandemic, Kev, is this correct?
This, I'm afraid, is correct. Nigel Neal is often given this sort of characteristic that he was a bit of a prophet, that he was foreseeing things that were going to come about later on. I don't think he did. I think he was a clever man, came up with ideas, and other people nicked them, possibly. I don't want to be in that position. I did not. I wasn't looking into my crystal ball and predicting that this was coming. And when we did the episode on man-made horrors, I rather jokingly said, "Oh, we're overdue for a nuclear war." I really wish I hadn't said that now. I apologise to everybody. I really should not have said that. It was very flippant, but it worried me for a long time afterwards because I'd got it right with the bloody pandemic, and it was like, oh, horrible.
And I think what you said was something along the lines of, statistically, we are due another pandemic, right? Or overdue another pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think that this, what I'm about to say, is probably the previous pandemic to the one that had made us overdue. Because the 1957-1958 influenza pandemic, or Asian flu...
Yes, of course.
So it had already killed thousands of people worldwide, but in 1957 it reaches Britain, where it will kill a number estimated between 20,000 and 33,000 people.
Yeah.
And in October 1957, the UK introduced a vaccine, and deaths from the condition then peaked in the week ending the 17th of October that year at 600 in England and Wales. Funny that, isn't it?
Funny, isn't it? And they had no social media to put idiots on saying, "Oh, no, don't take it."
No.
Makes me mad. Anyway,
I know, me too. On to happier things. Kev, do you know how spaghetti is made?
You're not going to mention the television programme, are you? That it grows on trees.
So, in 1957,
yes,
in what's believed to be the first April Fool's Day joke on TV,
yep,
the BBC's Panorama programme broadcast a report purporting to show spaghetti being harvested from trees in Switzerland.
Brilliant. Absolute genius. And that was so famous. I mean, I wasn't born at the time that went out. I was still, 6 years away from being born. And I still remember those clips showing up on television all through my childhood. Mm-hmm. People were holding this up as one of the greatest practical jokes of all time, that people fell for it. We were so culturally insular at the time that we didn't have a clue that spaghetti didn't come from trees.
And if a programme like Panorama says it...
Of course, if the BBC said
you're going to believe it.
We believed it. Exactly. Yep, quite right.
So funny. Okay, so in the same... And this is still technically TV. So in the same year that the Jodrell Bank Observatory became operational, the first broadcast of the BBC's astronomy series, The Sky at Night, aired.
Yes.
Presented by national treasure, amateur astronomer, xylophonist, best mate of Queen's Brian May, games master, and all-round legend, Sir Patrick Moore.
What a man.
What a man.
What a man. Now, there was a proper scientist.
Yeah, well, although saying that, he was apparently all self-taught and completely amateur, which is incredible.
Yeah. He had the gravitas. I believed every word that man said.
That's absolutely right. Any man in a monocle can tell me anything. The programme went on to run with Patrick Moore as presenter until its final episode on the 7th of January 2013, 1 month after his death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think he's in the Guinness Book of Records as being the longest running TV presenter on any show.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah. And I used to watch that programme religiously when I was younger.
I bet.
I love that programme.
Yeah.
Appeal to the scientist in me.
Also, on Christmas Day in 1957, the Royal Christmas Message was broadcast on television with the Queen on camera for the first time. So it's the first time people actually gathered round their TVs to watch it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, some people did.
Yeah, I mean,
if they cared.
I don't think I've ever seen one of them, Queen or King, to be honest. But it's amazing, isn't it, that we think that was something that's been with us since time immemorial.
Yeah.
And no, 1957. So,
and to finish off, as we always do, in film in 1957. So the first London Film Festival was held.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Which we're sort of in the midst of in London at the moment as we record this. And it was the first one ever in 1957. And then David Lean's Academy Award winning The Bridge on the River Kwai was released. It won 7 Oscars, including Best Picture.
Quite right too.
Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal won the Special Jury Prize at the 1957 Cannes Film Festival. And to finish off in horror, Jacques Tourneur's Night of the Demon was released.
Marvellous.
What a banger.
What a film. Yes, absolutely right.
Oh, my God.
We should do a whole podcast series just on that one film. It's so good. It really is. So,
OK, great. We'll do that next.
When we've got through 63 weeks of this, or whatever it is, we'll go and torment ourselves some more. Yeah.
We can do Night of the Demon minute by minute.
Oh, yes, please. That'd be terrific.
OK, so back to the film.
Well, it's interesting. Before we head back to it, it's interesting what you were saying there about our nuclear programme.
Yeah.
Nuclear bombs, we set off our first one. This, again, there is this sort of, as I said, there's this idea that Nigel Kneale was a bit of a seer, a bit of a prophet for the space age. And in Quatermass 2, the television series version, which predates the film by a year, he'd actually opened that with one of the Quatermass 2 rockets exploding on the launch pad at the launch site in Australia because its nuclear motor had gone wrong and it kills hundreds of people. So he was already plugging into the nuclear fear. Hammer got rid of that because they wanted to get into the story quicker. I can understand it. They needed to get going a bit quicker. But yeah, there is a terrible accident in the TV series where the Quatermass 2 rocket explodes. Or one of them, they got 2 Quatermass 2s. One of them explodes and kills hundreds of people in a nuclear accident.
Yeah. Crazy, yeah.
So it's weird. Maybe old Nige could see the future.
Maybe
he could. Maybe.
OK, well, talking about the rocket, as you've brought us here so gracefully, this is Quatermass 2. But at the end of the Quatermass experiment, we see a rocket being launched.
We do.
And now Quatermass 2 has either exploded, as you've just told me, or is sat on the launch pad at Quatermass's sort of research centre.
That's right, yeah.
So, come on, explain this to me, please. What was...
actually, there is a kind of explanation, sort of, but it's just not a good one. It's a pragmatic one. Is when they made Quatermass experiment, they had no idea there'd be a Quatermass 2. So when Hammer shot the film, they just thought, that'll be a good way to end. We'll have him launching another rocket.
And very chilling it was too, I must say.
Very chilling. Nigel Kneale then goes and throws a spanner in the works by saying, actually, I've got another rocket here because this is my television series. And so I think we just have to pretend that we don't see that rocket at the end of the Quatermass experiments. What he does do, though, is quite interesting. That everybody thinks... A lot of people think that the film is called Quatermass 2 because it's the second Quatermass film.
Right.
It's not. It's called Quatermass 2 because the rocket is called Quatermass 2.
You told me this when we were on stage at the Regent Street Cinema. I was like, wait, what?
But it works because it was the first film to have a number 2 in the title.
That is just amazing,
and it does work in that respect, that it is the second Quatermass film. But it's actually a reference to the Quatermass 2 rocket. Which is, a clever little bit of jiggery-pokery there. But by Nigel Kneale, because, he called it Quatermass 2 on television and had the Quatermass 2 rocket. So a little bit of his sense of humour there, I think. It's a very, very good. I like it.
Literally the first ever film title that had the number 2 in it.
That's right, yes. Well, the number 2 in it to refer to it as being the second part of something.
Yes, no, exactly.
He's the first one to do it, and it's Hammer, and it's British, by God.
By golly.
And now, of course, you can't move for part 2s.
Well, and often, I think, I prefer, if you're going to have a sequel, I would always prefer to have it, the name of the first film, and then like a little colon, and then a subtitle, or
Indeed.
But I always think it's a little bit like for example, what have we got coming up over the next few weeks? We've got Black Phone 2, or
Yes.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
Yeah.
It's like, come on,
You can do better than that.
Don't just tell us it's the second film in a series. Like, that's not very imaginative.
Well, Hammer are going to go on to make a whole series of sequels.
Yeah.
And this is the only one that's got 2 in the title.
Well,
Dracula is followed by Brides of Dracula, is followed by Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and so on. Every film has its own title, its own identity. And I like that. Like you say, the idea of it being a number 2 kind of relegates it.
and also it sort of takes some of the magic of the storytelling away.
Yeah.
It feels like, here's just another one of those films that you like, rather than
That's right.
here's like a continuation,
A continuation of the storyline, or, a continuation of the world that we're in, which is what we're getting here. We're not continuing the Quatermass story, but we are continuing his story in the wider world that Hammer and Nigel Neal have created together.
Exactly. Well, Hammer, just classy, right? Just classing up the joint.
Oozing with class. Yeah. What a marvellous image that isn't.
Well, speaking of, let's talk about the horror. Speaking of ooze.
Ooze. Oh, yes.
That moment that Broadhead appears from the... he's like snuck into one of the sort of domes or the tankers because he wants to see the synthetic food.
That's right.
Here you've got this this sort of ministry worker who wants to expose what's going on, and he takes Quatermass along with him. They're being given the tour. Again, this feels a little bit sort of tropey now. This idea of people joining a tour to look at a sort of official installation somewhere, and sneaking off from the back of the tour group and finding an open door.
Part of the trope is that you always have to have the person leading it who's really not on the ball, who's not paying any attention whatsoever to the fact that the 2 most prominent people in his group have suddenly disappeared.
I know.
The eminent rocket scientist and the MP have disappeared. And it's like, and that poor woman that's with them who just says, they were over there a moment ago. And that's as much information they've got to go on,
But Broadhead sneaks into, because they won't show them, right? That's like the bit that's kind of off limits. But this is the bit that's actually important because it's off limits. That's the bit he wants to see. And so
of course.
He sneaks his way in. And when he reappears, Kev, oh my God.
What a scene.
He staggers down these like metal steps as Quatermass runs towards him, shouting his name. And he is just covered head to toe in what essentially looks like tar.
Yes. Yeah, and in fact, if you watch League of Gentlemen, there is a scene where 2 workers escape from the shop.
Tubbs and Edwards' shop.
Yeah, they managed to escape from them, covered in tar. And Mark Gatiss has said that is a deliberate tip of the hat to Quatermass 2.
Chef's kiss. I love it.
Isn't that brilliant?
That is brilliant. But he is like screaming as well, and sort of saying, sort of scream like, don't touch me, don't touch me.
And it's a proper impassioned scream.
Yeah,
it's proper, a man, a sort of middle-class, middle-aged man losing his cool because he's in so much pain. And there's something really scary about that.
There
really
absolutely
horrible.
is. It's something that I say about The Omen, which is my favourite ever horror.
Yeah.
And this idea that if Gregory Peck is scared, you know that you should be scared.
Then you need to be scared too.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And there's something about that here. This, as you say, like this upstanding guy.
Yeah.
Who, as well, and we're on his side as well. It's another one of these very sort of tragic moments, actually.
Yeah. And Tom Chato plays it so well. The actor Tom Chato, who, here we go, fact fans, he's the grandfather of the Canadian comedian Mae Martin.
Oh my God, who I am currently obsessed with because I'm watching their program Wayward on Netflix, which is so good.
Well, now you've seen her granddad.
That's
exposed
amazing.
to horrible black oil.
Oh dear,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, that's not amazing. Poor guy.
That's not amazing. But he plays it so well.
He does.
Doesn't he?
He's so
Like,
good.
he really inhabits that character's pain.
Yeah.
And his
It's
fear
horrific.
at what's happening. And the fact that he doesn't want to be touched, isn't that?
No, he's trying to protect Quatermass.
He doesn't want Quatermass to become infected. Yeah, so another decent human being, you know? And it took several takes to film that sequence. Poor Tom Chato having to come down those stairs covered in that.
What did they actually cover him
I don't
with?
know, but he's so effective, isn't it?
It really is.
It was
and he's
certainly-
head
to toe.
toe.
It was certainly very uncomfortable because Tom Chato, his wife, Roz, was a leading casting director and talent agent, and he joked about that scene later. He said, remind me to talk about my wife about casting me in this. Because it was such a difficult shot to get right. You know, to have him come down the steps like that.
Yeah.
And he does that bit so well because you keep thinking, oh, he's going to fall, he's going to fall.
Honestly, it looks like he could slip at any moment. Like he's
yeah.
covered in this stuff.
He's a great unsung hero of this film. There are so many good performances, but Tom Chato is the one to watch. He's fantastic in this.
Yeah, he is. He's
really
great.
good. And you know, as death scenes go, that's one of the big ones. He's so good.
Yeah, he really sells that horror.
He does. It's awful. And you know, it's the most shocking moment, I think. Well, no, it's not. I was going to say the most shocking moment in the film, and I've just remembered another one, and this is a spoiler. Later in the film, Quatermass realises that oxygen is poisonous. You know what I'm going, don't you?
I know what you're going to say.
It's poisonous to the aliens in the dome, so he starts to flood the dome with pure oxygen. And the aliens, being manipulative, invite a group of these sort of rebels. There's been an armed workers' uprising. I mean, how much more subversive do you want to get? And the aliens use one of their sort of inhabited people over the PA to invite a delegation to come and inspect the domes. And a group of them go, and seconds later you hear a horrible scream coming down the pipe, and then the pipe cracks and blood starts to drip out of it.
Yeah.
And the reason is that the aliens have pulped the delegation's bodies and stuffed it in the pipes to try and keep the oxygen out. I mean, just you don't see anything apart from the blood dripping, but
Kev,
it's awful, isn't
they
it?
literally use the phrase human pulp.
Yeah, it just brilliantly shows how alien they are.
Oh, God.
That no human being would do anything so vile and
It
despicable.
is so disgusting.
It's awful.
And like you say, you don't see it, but just the idea. And they're like, yeah, come, you know, come over.
You can trust us, you know. And of course, we must point out at this point that the man that the blood drips onto beneath that pipe is none other than our old friend and future best friend, Michael Ripper.
Michael Ripper.
Yeah, a regular fixture in these films, and here he's getting a slightly bigger part than he got in X the Unknown. And, you know, he's the one that, it's blood. You know, he's just dripping out of this pipe, and that's when they realise what's happened, and it's just, so horrible.
They've blocked the pipes with human pulp. If there's ever a phrase I never want to hear again.
I know. That's just hideous. And there was going to be something else that they actually cut out because the BBFC said no to it. It's in the TV series, but they didn't think it was going to fly in the cinema, where the guards come out to investigate a lovely young family having a picnic near the base, and they just shoot them.
God.
They just massacre this family for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that was the bit they said, no, you can't do. That was the bit that they were most against. But honestly, poor old Broadhead and that horrible incident with the pipe, he's like, if Hammer had not already shown us what they were going to do, Quatermass Experiment, and with Curse of Frankenstein, which had come out.
And X the Unknown, to be honest.
And X the Unknown, some nastiness going on in that. This definitely cemented the idea that this was a company who was not going to take any prisoners when it came to horror.
Absolutely. We're not going to take prisoners, we're going to turn them into pulp and shove them into pipes.
Exactly. And it's just like, oh my God, this is the way forward for horror. And she's like, every one of these films just seems to up the ante that little bit extra in terms of nastiness and grimness. It's just, so don't ever tell me this is just a science fiction film. There's a hell of a lot more going on in this than just a science fiction film.
The horror is legit.
It is.
So we've kind of already touched on it, really, but we're at the big finish. So the as you said earlier, all the little monsters from all the little pods get put into the big domes and then basically like merge together to make big, massive slime monsters.
Yes.
And then they break out. They break out, or do they just see them within the domes?
Well, Michael Ripper fires an anti-tank missile at one of the domes and blows up the dome, and they escape from the dome.
Good idea, Michael.
Yeah, well done, Mike. Excellent. We love you to death, but honestly, not your best moment. But they're sort of towering over these plants, these sort of huge, sort of horrific, nasty, slimy, amorphous blobs, and just horrible to look at, really. And I think they'd figured out, I think we said that the X, the Unknown Monster, isn't quite as scary as it could be because it doesn't quite work properly as a blob monster.
No.
This does.
Even when it is horrible. Even when it is coming at an inch an hour towards a tiny giggling toddler.
Yeah, even that bit. Even that bit. But this, I think, they get the blob monster working really well.
They do. I mean, for starters, they are absolutely vast.
Yeah.
And there's much more menace coming off them. I think probably something to do with the fact that we've just seen what they're capable of and, quite willing to do to our fellow human beings.
And also, let's not forget, this is the era of the early days of the Godzilla films.
Okay.
So the idea of giant towering monsters was taking root.
Yeah.
And these are giant towering monsters in the kaiju tradition.
Absolutely.
They're not the lizards or anything, but...
they're not stomping on stuff.
They're not stomping, but they're slithering all over you and they will flatten you and choke you to death. And we get this terrific action sequence at the end where they flee the base as... the Quatermass 2 rocket is launched at the asteroid, which is where the alien base is. And in the television series... Quatermass and his assistant, Pugh, who's not in this, replaced by Marsh, they actually get on board the rocket and go to the asteroid to confront the aliens.
Oh.
But that was felt like we don't really need that in the film.
Stop trying to make Brian Donlevy talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. For God's sake, do not send him up there to talk to the aliens. He's just going to trigger massive intergalactic war, isn't he, by punching someone. So just don't do it. But they felt, they didn't need to do that. So they just have the simple expedient of the rocket being fired with its faulty atomic engine, blows up the asteroid, which then causes like a feedback loop and causes the aliens on Earth to explode.
Which is, as we all know, what happens in Independence Day.
Indeed. Another reason that I don't like Independence Day. But I'm not a fan of Independence Day.
That's it. We're done. I'm off.
It wasn't a Hammer film that finished us off. It was bloody Independence Day. But yeah, I mean, it causes this feedback loop, which causes the death of the aliens, who then explode with such ferocity that it causes a hurricane to blow. And and there's a lovely story there, which I should tell you. Our friend Brian was a little thin on top, shall we say. Like a lot of actors of his age, he wore a toupee.
Yep.
Which, when they switched on the giant fans, you know where I'm going, don't you? Promptly blew away.
Oh no!
Prompting the crew members to stifle giggles as they took off in search of it when it was blown away down the landscape. But so poor old Brian sort of lost his dignity at the end. They did it again, and we don't see that. And I don't like him as Professor Quatermass, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Really,
absolutely not. No one wants to lose their syrup in the middle of a fake hurricane.
No. I mean, I'm in the position where I perhaps should wear a syrup, but I'm just not vain enough, to be honest. But if I was, I wouldn't want to lose it like that. No. God. But it's a terrific ending, isn't it? It's
really good.
The final shot where Lomax says, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to write up a final report on this. And Quatermass said, I'm not so sure it's final.
Ooh.
And then just walks off, and Lomax goes, what? And chases after him. So, a hint straight away that there's another one coming.
Honestly, he's such a drama queen, Quatermass. He's always just dropping a line and then walking off.
Yeah, making a pronouncement. It's like, come on, then chase me if you want to find out the full story. It's like, come on, Bernard, you're a scientist. You're better than that. But, it's a brilliant end to a terrific film that I think really ups the ante on what went before. What was before a monster film, a bloody good monster film, here becomes something more political, something more subversive, something... I mean, how many films do you know from the 1950s feature the British workforce rising up against their oppressors in an armed uprising? I said before, we're not a rebellious country. We don't do revolutions. We do here. It's a really, really, really it's a cerebral film. Despite Brian Donlevy's best efforts, it remains a cerebral film.
It really is.
It's an intelligent piece of work from, one of the great writers of science fiction. I think I said at the screening that, he was one of Britain's greatest science fiction writers and he hated being called that. Because he didn't want to be associated with science fiction. Well, stop writing such good science fiction then, Nigel. If you're going to be a genius, we're going to keep reminding you of what you're doing. It's brilliant.
It's almost like when there's somebody in the house that normally does a chore. And then for one reason or another, the other person has to do a chore.
Yeah.
And they do a much better job of it.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, that's your chore now. It's like, well, you shouldn't have tried as hard. You shouldn't have done such a good job. Now this is all your responsibility.
I have been in my current job for 19 years. Prior to that, I was in a job for a much shorter period of time where I turned out I had a reputation for making very nice cups of tea. Mm-hmm. In my current job, I haven't made a single cup of tea for me or anybody else, and I've never mentioned it. If some of them will be listening to this will be thinking, hang on a minute, he's taken to the point where he's working from home to mention this. But never, ever, ever be good at what you do if you don't want to do it. And Nigel Neal was...
Don't make a rod for your own back.
Nigel Neal was the best. He wrote the best science fiction, the best horror. The man was a genius, and we haven't finished with him yet. Mm-hmm. We've still got a couple more, or 3 more times we're going to talk about Nigel Neal, and I will go into my gushing fanboy mode again.
Amazing.
Especially when we get to Quatermass and the Pit, which I think has got some of the most insane ideas he ever came up with. They're brilliant.
Roll on
Absolutely
those
amazing.
30-something
Roll on
weeks.
that one. Yes, exactly. It's going to be a very long 35 weeks, whatever it is. So,
so we'll wrap things up, Kev, but before we do, I want to know, because obviously last week we talked about The Curse of Frankenstein, which
indeed.
was the sort of genesis of gothic horror for Hammer. But obviously we've immediately gone back to sci-fi. So is sci-fi horror something that Hammer will continue with? Will we see more of that? Or are we back to the gothic?
Yes. Yeah. And don't forget, as I said earlier, actually Quatermass 2 went into production first before Curse of Frankenstein.
Of course, yeah.
It's just that the vagaries of distribution and release and so on, it came out later. But yes, we are. We're going to see some amazing science fiction still to come. The Damned is a great one. Joseph Losey, superb film. You are going to love that. Yeah. I just know you're going to love that. And, we've got Quatermass and the Pit to come. We've got The Abominable Snowman to come, which I believe is the next episode. Mm-hmm. We do, unfortunately, get things like Moon 02, which thankfully has no horror in it, so we don't have to think about that one.
Oh, okay.
That's an awful film. Just dreadful. But science fiction never goes away. And of course, Frankenstein is a science fiction story. They'll continue to pursue that angle of the obsessed scientist using revolutionary techniques to further his aims. Mm-hmm. And so, we haven't seen the end of science fiction yet. Certainly next week, we've got something along the lines of science fiction. So, it's Hammer never give up on anything that made them money.
And did this make money? Did it have a good reaction?
It had. It was a hit. Less so in America, because obviously, as with Quatermass Experiment, they didn't really know who Quatermass was. It didn't have the cultural impact that it did here. It was released as Enemy from Space.
Yeah.
And so it did okay. And it did pretty good box office here, but it was completely overshadowed by the success of The Curse of Frankenstein.
Sure, I know. What a film to release it in the same year as.
In the same year, exactly. And it's like Hammer had basically looked at the success of The Curse of Frankenstein and thought, well, that's what we're going to do from now on. We're not going to bother with this Quatermass and the Pit when we get round to it. We'll do that later. We're going to just make gothic horror films now. And so, they did. It was this... So they'd got... The Abominable Snowman, which we're going to talk about next week, they got that in production at the time, but everything else was cleared and they just went down the gothic route. But science fiction is going to pop up from time to time. Wait till you get a load of The Damned. Oh boy, you are going to love that one.
Can't wait.
It's going to be great.
Okay. The most important question. Where does Quatermass 2 rank for us? We've got elite, upper, middle and lower.
I'm going to have to put it as upper.
Yeah, oh my God.
The highest echelons of upper.
Me too.
I can't give it elite status because of Brian Donlevy, but I think it's a step up from Quatermass Experiment.
I agree.
It will be outclassed by Quatermass and the Pit.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, for 34 weeks' time, that's elite.
Okay.
But this is absolutely stunning. It's a film that rewards you every time you go back to watch it. You know, if you're seeing it now for the first time accompanying this, schedule it in for a repeat viewing next year or even sooner, and I guarantee you will see something new. You will see things in it that I've missed, that Becky's missed, that everybody's missed. It's that kind of film.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I saw it on the big screen for the first time, which, what a way to see this film.
What a way to see
but
it.
I have got, again, producer Mike, thank you very much, has lent me his stunning Hammer box set.
Yes.
And
well, that's got the TV series on as well.
It's got the TV series in it as well, Kev.
So, yeah, you can see them both.
I'm very excited to revisit the film, but also I'm going to watch the TV series because I am completely with you. This is absolutely upper, but it's upper. Like, I think this is a seriously good film.
Oh, it's an astonishing film. Yeah, it's just not as good as The Curse of Frankenstein. And I know it's like comparing chalk with cheese, really, but it doesn't quite scale the heights. We put Curse of Frankenstein in elite. This is just behind it.
And as you say, we've got The Abominable Snowman next week, which was also from 1957. Like, calm down, Hammer.
Oh, yeah. Also directed by Val Guest and written by Nigel Neal.
Nigel Neal.
Why break up a winning team?
Exactly. Thanks for listening to Hammer Time. We'll be back, as I've just said, with Val Guest and Nigel Neal next week. And this time they are teaming up with Peter Cushing in The Abominable Snowman. To check out the full list of movies we'll be covering throughout this podcast, head to evolutionofhorror.com/hammer. We'd love to hear from you, so please send us questions or comments for upcoming mailbag episodes. You can drop us an email to hammer@evolutionofhorror.com. You can follow the Evolution of Horror Network on Instagram at EOH_network. You can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Bunny Darke. And Kev, where can people find you?
EOFFTV, that's my website, EOFFTV.com, the main site. There's a review site. I'm on most social medias under EOFFTV and on Facebook under my real name, but just come and find EOFFTV. I'm on us both. But yes, come and say hello.
Don't forget to rate and review us on your podcast app of choice. Thank you for listening. Join us next week for another episode of Hammer Time.